The car ride went by much faster than usual. Bubblegum slept peacefully. Maria kept talking without almost a single breath in between her words. She was extraordinarily cheerful and lively, much more than I would have expected from a prince's daughter. "Are you an actual princess?" Kai asked her mother when we were only a few kilometers short of reaching Michtel. He couldn't seem to wrap his head around the whole matter. "Oh no," she laughed. "I'm definitely not. But you see, you live in Rhodown and Palatine, a traditional wine region, and there you'll have a wine queen being crowned once a year during a harvest festival or something like that. Come other local festivities, maybe she's going to give the opening speeches, and spend the rest of the time being nice and looking pretty. There's posters on the side of the road with her face on them, meant to entice the people into buying a bottle of native-friendly Palatine wine. Obviously, the Michtel Valley doesn't produce wine, but instead has a long, many centuries-old history of making porcelain. A few years ago, they started choosing porcelain princesses to make the whole thing look more attractive for an outsider's point of view, and more lucrative for the people of the Michtel Valley. And well, this year it's my turn." "Do you get a lot of money?" Kai inquired with his interest piqued. "Not at all," the princess laughed again. "I work in a restaurant in the neighbor village. I'm just on holiday for the week. I get to use the company van for free sometimes, and get a pretty good discount on as much porcelain as I want. But that's pretty much all the perks of the title. Of course I have my pretty dress and a porcelain scepter, but even just cleaning my dress every couple months is something I have to pay for myself. Just like I'm only reimbursed for a small fraction of my traveling expenses. So really, my job as a princess is more a slightly pricey hobby than anything else." We passed a sign just left of the highway reading Passion Play. It was a brown sign at the side of the road, meant to alert people in passing cars to something interesting in the vicinity of the sign. Oftentimes it was a castle, or the occasional monastery, or a particular church, or something unique to a close-by town, for example in this case, Passion Place. "What's that?" Louise wanted to know, after having consciously read this particular sign for the first time, despite already passing at 5. "Well," said Maria's mother, "you know nativity plays, right?" "Of course," said Louise. "I actually played part in one, just last Christmas in Michel." Now, a passion play is the same thing, but for Easter. The nativity play shows Jesus' birth, and the passion play shows the events leading up to his death, and usually ends with the 3 women standing in front of an open grave, and an angel telling them of Jesus' resurrection. "But wouldn't they have to build a whole grave inside of the church?" Kate chuckled. "That sounds like a lot of work." "Obviously not," Maria's mother noted. "It's usually cardboard recreations of the cave. That was Jesus' grave, and you can make this down out of a few bigger pieces of cardboard. My grandfather did it one time back when I was still a little girl." "Your grandfather was a pastor?" I asked with bafflement. The mother inclined her head at the question. "Yes, he was. He was basically your father's predecessor. I say he was a pretty good one. His favorite saying from the Bible was, 'Be merciful towards others, like our Father in heaven is merciful towards you.' He used to spend a lot of his money on various charities, more than on his own family or the renovation of his home. I still like to visit the parsonage as often as possible." "Oh, that's why you know so much about stuff like passion plays," Louise remarked. She nodded. "I still don't understand," Kai called out. "Jesus was in a grave and he was dead. No way he actually walked out of that cave. Like some angel or whatever could have told these women whatever he wants. Once you're dead, you're dead." Miss Daume shook her head. "Sure, you're right most of the time. But people who believe in God see it a little differently. Even if you're not religious, there's a certain way to revive people after their hearts stop beating. There's electric shocks, mouth-to-mouth, or cardiac massage. But all that has nothing to do with Easter or why we Christians believe in revival. Easter isn't even really about reviving people, even though that's also something that happens in the Bible. Jesus did. He revived the 12-year-old girl and Lazarus, I supplied eagerly. "Thank you, Anna," the woman said. "But no, Easter means resurrecting the human body into something better, into something immune to decay, illness, and death." "What the heck?" Kai started, visibly out of his depth, and showing that he might have eaten his share of Easter eggs, and probably a few chocolate Easter bunnies as well, but hadn't really cared to educate himself on the Christian origins of the holiday. "Easter," the woman continued, "simply is a sign that humankind is destined for an eternal life, and that we shouldn't use our time here on earth to embrace facing God. That eternal life begins the second you start believing that it exists. And with eternity on the horizon, you don't have to worry about parting with your prized possessions. You don't have to worry about sacrificing some of your time to help someone else. You don't have to worry about missing out on something just because you sacrifice to serve and love your neighbor." You know what? I interrupted her, in order to give a well-deserved compliment. Your sermons would be a lot better than my dad's. The woman turned to briefly look at me, very briefly, because she was right in the action of leaving the highway, and she had to pay extra attention to the road. You know, Anna, I think your father's an alright pastor. The worst thing about him is that he talks too quickly and a little slurred. He also can't sing, and his sermons are much too short, and he definitely lacks a lot of piety, nor is he really cheerful. Maybe that's why his preaching lacks that certain kind of momentum. You know, there's this pastor a few towns away that I visit from time to time. Really, I didn't understand Miss Dom's criticism of my father a single bit. In fact, I thought that my father was too pietous with the way he was constantly mumbling prayers, and with how every conversation with him involved at least one, "This reminds me of the following Bible verse." I don't know about this whole eternal life thing. I think I can sacrifice a bit of my time to help other people, even without believing in an eternal life in heaven or something like that guy said. And anyway, I prefer chocolate Easter eggs anyway. I can actually see, feel, and find those. And once I find them, I can eat them. They taste really good. That's all I really need. We all laughed a little, then fell into silence for the remaining 20 kilometers until Michel.